First of all, very, very good morning to all of you. Uh, you can feel free to switch off your video, switch on as you wish, but please make sure your mic is off unless we have the Q&A session, which will be there probably every 10-15 minutes. Glad to see many of you joined. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Silas. I have worked with Excel for the last 5 years. 5 years back, I didn't know how to do anything in Excel. There would be some moving around. I didn't know anything at all. But I was blessed with the opportunity to work with Excel in my offices and work around with people who had a lot of experience in Excel. So I do know that there are a lot of my friends who have had Excel questions raised to them in interviews, or they're working with data and they need Excel to help them with stuff. I've noticed that I've been able to help some of them, but then I decided to take it to a bigger platform, which is how this whole idea started. Now about Excel. Excel is a part of the Microsoft Office package. It is used for data management, understanding data. You want to manipulate data, you can better present data. You can use for personal finance, for companies, for anything. It's a very powerful software, and the problem is that there is not a lot of it taught in schools, or even, let's say, your bachelor's or your master's. So there are very few colleges who, at least nowadays, taking the initiative to teach this software. But it's one thing that you will have to use a lot when you're at work. So this will definitely help you. There will be time for Q&A, like I said, every 10-15 minutes. If ever you have any questions, you can ask me at that time. And please make sure you clear things as and when you get it. Please don't wait till the end. Now let us begin. So in Excel, this is just an Excel file that I've opened. It's called an Excel workbook. Any Excel file you open, it's called a workbook. And Kevin, just to confirm, you can see the screen, right? Excel screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an Excel workbook. And in every Excel workbook, it is broken up into Excel sheets. So you can see sheet 1 is there, sheet 2, sheet 3. We are going to be looking at sheet 1 because our data is here. The methodology that I'm going to be using, or the perspective with which you have to see Excel, is to use a lot of shortcuts. Now, without shortcuts, you can do a lot of stuff. You can do everything without shortcuts. But with shortcuts, you get to do your work in a much better way, in a much faster way. And trust me, when you have to work with lots of data, which probably go to 10,000, 20,000 rows, shortcuts can help you go a long way, and it can help you to be much, much faster. When you look at shortcuts in Excel, there are different sections of shortcuts. So as you would have seen in the meeting link, we're going to begin with the movement shortcuts. Now the movement shortcuts, what I mean is this. Let's say you are in any sheet. So let me open a blank sheet of Excel. You're free to open Excel in your PC and try along with me. So let's say you have opened a blank sheet in Excel. You want to move around. Of course, you can click this, you can click that. Let's say you want to move to the first cell in the sheet. What I would do, I wouldn't go and click that. Let's say I'm here, I would just do that. So what I did is I did control up and control left. What is control up and left and all these means? So when you do control and any arrow, so I'm doing control up now. What happens is till an obstacle is faced, if the cells are empty, till an obstacle is faced, the arrows, the cell keeps getting highlighted as in it moves till it encounters an obstacle. So let's say I put some data here, here, and I'm here. I press control up, it will stop here. But if I'm here, if I do control up, it goes to there because there's no obstacle. From here, if I do control down, it goes down till it encounters an obstacle. There is no obstacle, so it goes down, it goes up. But if I'm here and if I go down, if I press control down arrow right now, it goes till there because there's an obstacle. Now let's look at with the data. This is some random data. You have three different data here: employee name, salary, number of years in the company. Let's say I'm here and I want to go to the top row. I would just do control up. Now the benefit of that is that it's real quick. Let's say you want to go to down of the data. What you would normally do, you would take your mouse and you would scroll like that. Fine, this has only 36 rows, so you can scroll. But imagine you have almost 1,000 rows of data. You're not going to be able to scroll the whole thing. Even page down is going to be really slow. Because page down also, you're not covering multiple pages at once. When you do control down, you are just going till the end of the data. See, the last data is Amelia. You're going to the end of the data here. If you do control up, you go into the top of the data. Control left, the same thing. Control right, the same thing. Until an obstacle is encountered, control arrows will keep moving. So if I'm here, for example, I do control left, it will stop here because there's an obstacle there. That is control. Now think of it the same way with shift. So if you do shift and something, what happens is the data gets highlighted. I'm pressing shift and I'm pressing arrow keys down. See what happens now. I can select data. Now why am I teaching this as a shortcut? Let us say you want to select this entire data and you want to make it bold. Or let's say you want to select, why is my screen getting stuck? Kevin, all okay, you can see me, right?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, fine. So let's say you want to highlight this entire data and you want to make it, there's an issue. Kevin, is my screen still clear?
Yeah, the screen sharing is fine. I think the laptop's issue might be there.
Is there a
It's
lag?
just there's no lag. It's buffering a lot. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Just move. Just try moving now. Yeah. There's a bit of a lag. Yeah.
I'll take it a little slow. Okay, so let's say I'm here and I want to go down. I want to select this entire data and I want to make it bold for some reason. You see the amount of time it takes me to do it with the mouse. Now you have to imagine the data is 1,000 rows big. This will take a lot of time. So then what I would do is I would do shift down. But of course, shift is not fast enough. So I would mix control and shift because control will help me go till down, right? And control helps me go till up. So when I do control shift down, the entire data gets selected. I'll explain that again. Let's say I want to highlight years in the company, 14. I want to highlight it till this end, which is 3. How do I move between the data? The normal way would be, if I want to go and highlight all the way till 3, I would select that. I would go till 3. But you'll see me using shortcuts where I will do stuff like this. Within a split second, I have selected the whole data. How to do that? Shift and arrows helps in selecting data. Control and arrows helps in moving between the top and the end of a data. Top and bottom of a data. So when I do control shift down, the entire data is selected. So that is control arrows and control shift arrows. We have time for questions. Any questions anyone has, please clear it now. You can unmute and clear. Anyone has any questions? Yes, clear it now. Okay. Somebody has messaged me in chat, but I can't see it because I am doing a screen share. I can't see the chat screen now, sorry. Okay, assuming that nobody has any questions, we're moving to the next shortcut. Now, how do you insert rows or columns in Excel? The normal way is this. Let's say I want a column between salary and number of years. What you would do is this. You would select column E, you would do right click, and you would go to insert. That's how you would insert normally. But let me show you a faster way. You saw what happened? Let me do that again. I'm doing control spacebar for selecting the entire column, and I do control plus for inserting a column. I'll explain what happens. So when I do, Kevin, can you mute everyone else, please? Okay. So when I do control spacebar, what happens is the entire column, any column, it doesn't have to be data. See, I can do this also. When I do control spacebar, any column gets highlighted. I mean, that column, it gets highlighted. When I do shift spacebar, that entire row gets highlighted. So if I want to, let's say, highlight the salary column, I can click that, or a much faster way is just do control spacebar. If I want to insert a column before salary and between employee name and salary, I would click there and I would do control spacebar and I would do control plus. So what control plus does is it adds either a cell or it adds a row or it adds a column. Let's say I want to insert a name between Peter and William. I would do control plus and comes insert shift cells down. Okay. So now there is cell created there. The cells just shifted down. Let's say I want to insert an entire row between Peter and William. I would do shift spacebar. Shift spacebar helps in selecting the entire row, and I would do control plus. So when you're working with data really fast, it looks like this. It happens in split seconds. Else the normal way what you would do is you would select the entire data, entire row, you right click, go to insert, which is a little bit longer, which takes a little bit more time than the method that I showed. So that is shift space and control space. Once again, control space is for selecting the entire column. Shift space is for selecting the entire row. Now you saw control plus. So if I do control space and if I do control plus, there is a column that is being created. Let's say I want to delete this column. I would do again control space. I would do control minus. So control minus is for deleting a cell or a column or a row, and control plus does the exact opposite. So now let's say I want to remove George 9807. I want to remove this entire row. I would do shift space, control minus. So now you can see that entire row is gone. The normal way what you would do if you prefer to work without shortcuts is you would select that. So you would select that, go here, and you would do delete. Now trust me, when you're working with huge data, shortcuts are going to help you a lot. Before we move to the next set of shortcuts, any questions anyone has? Please clear it now because you'll be seeing me use a lot of this in today's and in coming session. So if you have any doubts, please clear it now. Okay, I think we're good. Now, okay. Now we're going to be looking at some common shortcuts. So there is common shortcuts like Control X, Control C, Control V. Now you know there is cut, copy, paste. So let's say I want to cut this data and paste it somewhere else. I would do cut. If I want to paste it to here, I would do paste. Sorry, that is Control V. Control Z is undo. So Control X, Control V for pasting, and I would do Control Z for undoing. Let's say I want to copy paste this data from here to here. The normal way, what you can do is you can right click, you can go to copy, you can go here, you can do paste. But it's much faster if you just do that and that. There's also one shortcut in Excel for pasting. Press the enter key. You don't have to do Control V in Excel. The faster way is to do enter. So let's say I want this thing, the exact same copy I want in another place. So I would do Control C there. I would go here. I do not have to press Control V. I press enter and it's pasted. So that is Control X, Control C, Control V. Now Control A. Control A selects an entire data. Same like when you use the control arrow. So you use control and arrows for going till where an obstacle is. Same like that, when you do Control A, till the table is ended, it selects the data. So if I do Control A now, you can see this entire data is selected, the entire table is selected. So what happens if I do Control A without data? There's another sheet. If I do Control A, you see the entire sheet is selected. If I go down, you can see all the way it's selected. That's what Control A does. Now this is very useful. I'll tell you why. Let's say you want to copy this entire table to the right side. So what you do is you would do Control A, you would do Control C, you would go to the right and press Enter. That's the faster way with shortcuts. If you're doing at the normal speed, what happens is you would have to select it like that. You would go to copy, and then you would go here and you would do paste. But speed is our thing. Speed helps us, so the faster way is this. Control A, Control C, and you go there, press Enter. Enter, as I said, is the shortcut for pasting. Okay, we have covered a lot of shortcuts, what I wanted to show. Before we move on to formulas, sum, average, and all, are there any doubts?
Yes, Silas. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, Silas, for when you what you told about to add or delete the rows, na?
Yeah.
So that control and this shift, that is standard for all. In order to select column, you have to do control spacebar, and in order to select row, you have to do shift spacebar. So it
Yes.
is a standard for all other functions also. This control and shift for column and row like this.
All other functions names, I didn't get you, Salman.
uh, Actually, in order to select any column, you press control spacebar,
Yes.
and for row you do shift spacebar, right?
Yeah.
So this is for this function only, na? For only this one. It is not a standard for all. For them, if you do any other thing. So for a column, every time we have to use control, and for column, every time we have to use control, and for row, every time we have to use shift. It is not like this, right?
So for selecting data, what we're talking about is
Mm.
only selecting data. Now let's say I want to make this entire place, this entire column, I want to fill it with yellow color. I would do control
Mm-hmm.
space and I would fill it with yellow.
Okay. And for example, if you do it for row number 10, what do you do now?
Row number 10.
Shift.
So I would do shift space bar and I would fill it with yellow.
Oh, okay, okay. That's done. That's done. That only I want to know. Fine.
Yeah. So if I want to insert a row, for example, between KT and Paul, I would select space bar and I would do control plus.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. That is a much faster way when you compare it to this going insert. So you do,
Yes.
the speed is this. It's much faster. Anyone has
Fine.
any other doubts? There are some
No,
news
no.
also. Anyone has any doubts, please tell before we go to formulas. Because you'll see me using a lot of these shortcuts. I don't want to get confused that time. You have any doubts? Clear it now. Okay, I think we're good. Now, moving on to formulas. So, Excel is nothing without formulas. It's a very powerful tool only because of the formulas that are inbuilt into it. So, to access formulas, you would be going to formulas, and you can use any of these formulas that are there, or you can just type insert function, and you will get a lot of formulas here. You can select all and see these are all the formulas in Excel. Start from there. Trust me, if you take time to learn all these formulas, you are going to learn 90% of Excel. So there are a ton of formulas, but a lot of them we use on a daily basis also. So we're going to be looking only at a few of them now. Now, going to formulas, so as we are all about shortcuts, going to formulas and then clicking insert function, then let's say I want a sum formula, I go that, it takes time. So in Excel, the normal way, what you would see people doing, and the fast way of this way is this, is equal to. Any formula in Excel starts with and is equal to. Is equal to, let's say I want sum, because as you saw in your link, we're going to cover sum first. So is equal to sum. Now, the formula has not been opened yet. Yes, you can see sum and you can say description. Sum adds all the numbers in a range of cells, but the formula is not opened yet. So to open a formula, you would either have to double click it. The formula is open now. I can just take the sum of these, or you can just press tab. So I personally am a person who uses very less of the mouse when using Excel. I prefer to use a keyboard because I feel it much faster. So if anyone is following suit, I would recommend that you press tab when typing a formula. So is equal to sum, press tab, and the formula opens. The advantages of that is that, for example, there's a formula called transpose. We will look at it later. But for example, I'm trying to transpose. I don't have to type out the whole thing. I just type a few letters, I get it there, I press tab, and the formula is open. That is how you open formulas. So we're going to look at sum. Once we look at sum, there are three different ways of doing sum. So once we look at that, we'll have time for questions. Please clear it out on the screen. Is equal to sum. The first method is equal to sum. Now what is sum? It's addition basically. So let's say I want to calculate Peter, Williams, and Jeremiah's salaries. I would take that is equal to sum all these. So the salary of these three people is 12,000. Now let's say I wanted to calculate the salaries of all these people, these four people. So I would do is equal to sum, and I would go. Let's say I want to calculate all the salaries. So let's say this is the salary that the company has paid in the month of February, for example. I want to calculate all these. So what is the total amount that the company has paid as salaries in February? My method, which I believe is a really fast one, is this. In a split second, you get sum. I'll show you what it did third. But first step is this, is equal to sum. That is a method that is not confusing at all. Is equal to sum. I would just select the entire data, press enter, and you get the sum. So you can see this is the formula bar. You can see is equal to sum D5 to D36. Okay, I forgot to explain one thing earlier, sorry. All these A, B, C, D, all these are kept here so that we can see the column names. So this is column A, this is column G, column H, and these are row numbers. So you have a lot of rows in Excel. This is row number 14, row number 17. This particular cell here is the cell in which the border is there now. You can see it is G17. Why? It's in column G, it's in row number 17. So this is G17. Similarly, this one, it is J21. Why? Because it's in column J, it's in row number 21. So when you see is equal to sum D5 to D36, it means it's taking the sum from D5, that is a row, column D, row number 5, till D36, column D, row number 36. So it takes the sum all the way from there till here. That is one way of calculating sum. Is equal to sum. So I'm doing Control Shift up arrow for going till the top of the data. I do enter. The second way of doing sum is I delete that and I go to this. In the home tab, you can see auto sum. So I do auto sum, and you can see again it is 164,700. That is the second way of doing sum. Now the third way, my personal favorite. In Excel, there's this shortcut built. You press Alt is equal to, and sum gets calculated. Once again, you press Alt is equal to. You press enter, you get the sum. Now, why it is really fast? As I told you, personally, I prefer using the keyboard entirely when using Excel. So if I'm working with the data, I just want the sum suddenly, I would go there, press Alt is equal to, and get the sum. It's a really fast method. These are the three ways of doing sum. So if anyone has any doubt in sums or in formulas, you can unmute the mic and ask me right now. Okay. Assuming that nobody has any doubts so far, we'll move on to average. So what is average? Average is the sum of the numbers that you want divided by the number of numbers. So let's say you want average of this 1,000 and 5,000. So normally it would be is equal to, okay, I'll just make that data bold. This is the data that you want to average for. So you would, the answer is equal to 1,000 plus 5,000, which is 6,000. So is equal to 6,000 divided by 2. 3000 is the average. Now Excel has a function for that, which is average. So once again, I'm opening formulas by typing is equal to average. I press tab for opening the formula. I'm going there and selecting the data. I press enter. 3000. For average, you do not have to select the data then divide by 2. No, Excel does that for you because it's an average function, not a sum function. So let's say I want the average of all this data. What is the average salary we pay to a staff? For that question, the simple answer would be is equal to average. I open the formula by pressing tab. I go there. I select it from there like that. 5,147. That is the average sum that you pay to your staff. Now, max, M-A-X, is equal to max. By the way, in Excel, you can see this description that is there, at least in the later versions of Excel. These help you to understand the formula and to give you an idea before you start working with it. So what does max do? It returns the largest value in a set of values, ignores logical values and text. Anyway, returns the largest value in a set of values. Let's see what that means. What is the highest value in, let's say, this much? The highest value in all of this. So 6,000, 4,000, I think 9,800, yeah. 9,800 is the highest value here. Kevin, I'm correct, right? I'm not missing anything. Kevin is counting there.
No, no.
Yeah, I think 9,800. Okay, fine. So if I want to know now, let's say it's only this much I can share it and find out. But let's say I want to find out the data with formula is equal to max. And I would select that. You can see 9,800. So max helps you to find the highest value in a set of numbers. So what is the highest, what is the highest salary paid to any of our employees is equal to max. And I would go here, I do that, 9,800. So that is earning good. So that is George. George is the one who is earning the highest. Later, in later sessions, when we do VLOOKUP and stuff, you can see how we can find out who is earning the highest. Now we have the highest figure, fine. But if the question is asked you is, who is paid the highest in our company? That's when you use VLOOKUP formula with max. So that is max. Now let's look at count. Let's say these are all the employees of a company as of February at least. How many are there? Would you start counting? Okay, Peter 1, William 2, Jeremiah 3, George 4. Obviously not. I really hope none of you work with that because it takes a lot of time. What you do is equal to count. Counts the number of cells in a range that contains numbers. So I do count, I select the entire data, and I'm getting a 0. The reason is, when you look at count, it counts the number of cells in a range that contains numbers. None of these are numbers. Now these are numbers. These also are numbers. So let's say I was doing count, and I go here, I select that entire data, I get 32. Because count formula counts only numbers. So then what can I use to count the names? Let's say only the names are given to me and I don't have the numbers. I would use count A. Why? It counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So I'm going to do one thing now for easy functioning. I'm going to just make a break in the data here. I'm just doing that by shift space control plus plus plus. Now again, looking at count. So this is count is equal to count here. Now I'm going to show you count A is equal to count A. It counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So if I select that, I get the correct text value. But since count A, it counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty, technically I should be getting the same answer if I count this. Yeah, I do that. So what is the difference between count A and count? Let me do count for this. We're going to look at this data. So if I do count for that, okay, is equal to count. It takes that. If I do count A for that, what happens? It gives me the same answer. But what happens if I insert a text here? So if I'm inserting a text here, what happens is count, it becomes 15, because as we saw the count formula, it counts the number of values in a range that have text, sorry, that have numbers. It does not count text. So there are only 15 values here that are numbers. One is a text. But the reason count A has not changed is because it's not blank. If I remove this text and make it into blank, you will see it has become 15. So let's say again I'm looking at Stewart. I change it to text. I go down there, I change that to text, I change that to text. You can see count A is still 15 because this is not blank yet. So you have 15 values here. This is blank, but apart from that, including text and numbers, you have 15 values. Count is showing only 12 because only 12 numbers are there. There is a difference between count and count A. Now, one pretty interesting formula is equal to count blank. 1. Count blank. So in this entire data, as we did now, you can see there's only one blank. That's this all is data. This all is data. There's no space anywhere here. So what happens if I put one space here? I'm deleting this data. You can see count blank has changed to 2. Count has become 11, count A 14, but mainly count blank has become 2. Okay, let me delete all this data. You can see count blank is increasing. It's 6 now. Okay, I'm deleting this also. It has become 7. So count blank helps you to understand whether you have any blank cells in your data. Now, we covered some average max count. Anyone has any doubts, please unmute your mic and clear it. Anyone has any doubts, you can unmute your mic and clear it. Or you can type in the chat and send it to the co-host. Okay. Assuming that no one has any doubts, we are moving ahead. Now the last thing, the last topic that you saw in your Zoom link would be the home tab. So these are all the different tabs in Excel. There is home, insert, draw, page layout, many different tabs are there. There's also developer and other add-on tabs you can add later on. But trust me, these are plenty enough to work with data. Let's start with home. Cut, copy, format, finger. So what is cut? You saw what is cut, Control X. It's shortcut position. But if I want to cut, just a second, somebody is sending message in chat. I don't know if you can see it, but okay. If EX19, if you can unmute your mic and ask, it's better for everybody, so everyone can hear it.
Silas, so this count A, right?
Yeah.
It is for counting the text inside the cells, or it's just like empty values?
Now, your doubt is count A, is it only for counting text or empty values, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make a sample data here. So I'm putting text, and I'm not putting any data here. I'm going here and putting text 2. Okay.
Okay.
In only these many, there are only 3 cells. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
Only 3 cells. Now I'm doing count A is equal to count A. So count A, it counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. Fine. I do that too. So what should the answer be?
It should be 2.
Yep, you're right. Because it counts
I got it.
cells in a range that are not empty. Now, if I put here some text, and if I remove that, it becomes 2 again. Yeah. If there's some text here, it becomes 3. If I remove that, it becomes 2. That's how that count becomes.
Understood.
Anyone has any other doubts? Please clear it before we go ahead. Now, the reason you have to understand each of these individual formulas very clearly is because later you're going to see nested formulas. As in, you're going to see if, VLOOKUP, concatenate, count, sum, everything all together in one formula. Formulas would be probably 5 or 6 lines long. If you're not sure of the individual formulas at those times, you will get a hell lot of confused and you can't work the data at all. So once again, if you have any doubts, please clear it now. Okay, assuming that everyone is clear, we are moving to the home tab. So when we're looking at cut, what cut does is this. Let's say I want to cut this entire data and paste it here. I don't want this data here, I want it here. So I would do cut, I would go here. Now the shortcut for shortcut for paste in Excel is enter. So I do enter there. That is what cut does. Let's say I want to copy of this entire data. As I said earlier, Control A is selecting the entire table. The reason it's not selecting this is because there's a break here. So Excel understands that these were the separate tables. So Control A, I would do Control C for copy. And if I want to paste it here, I would do enter this. Now, this is a pretty important function, format painter. What happens is this. Let's say I have this same data here. Okay, leave that. Let me make it simpler for you. Let's say I have data here, A, B, C, and I have data 2 here. If I have some format that I have in mind, so let's say I want to make the whole thing in green, and I want to put all borders for it, and I want to make it all center aligned for some joy. This is how the data would look like. Now let's say I want to put this in the exact same format. What you would normally do, if you don't know how the format painter function is, you would select this entire data, you would go put your green, and you would put all borders, and you would put center. That is very much fine. But as we know, time is limited. We never get time back. So let's save time. What you would do is you would select this data, you would go to Format Painter, and you would click it there. So you can see whatever format is there here, it gets copied here. Now let's try that with a bigger data. I hope it works. I select that, I go to Format Painter, and I go there. Okay, the reason why the bold has come in the middle is because it's here bold, 3 cells not bold. So the same format, bold, 3 cells on bold, 3 cells on bold. So if I want to work around that, what I would do is I would just select that. I would go to Format Painter, and I would go here. So the similar format that is there here has been pasted. All data green here. Everything's in black, everything's in black, fine. Center aligned, center aligned. Let's say I'm changing it. I want to put it italics, and I want to put a double underline, and I want to make it red color, and I want to fill it with blue. So let's say I want to have this exact same format pasted here. I would not select this entire data and then make it blue and then make the text red. No, it's a lot of time and effort, which you don't need to put. I would select that. You can even select one text, like one cell actually. This cell format you want to paste it everywhere. Fine, I select that. I go to Format Painter and I go there. Now, there is something in Excel that there is something in Format Painter that you have to understand. When you do Format Painter once, okay, let's say I select this. I want this format for this data here and for this data here. This Peter till James here, and I want for these 3 letters also. If I do Format Painter once, I just click it once, it goes like that, that is done. But when I come here, you can see the arrow, the cursor is a plus symbol, which is the default one in Excel. It's not a format one. So I would have to again go here, and I would have to do that, and I would have to do this. So the shortcut for that, or the faster way, is you do that, you click Format Painter twice. Now I click Format Painter twice, see what happens. I can select this entire data, the format is copied. So you can see the cursor still has the paintbrush sign next to it. So I can select this data, The format is still being copied. It's not gone. You can see it's still there. I can select that data and it is full. So the secret for that is to press Format Finder twice. It looks bad. I'm going to control Z all of it. Undo, 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 undo. Okay. Undo. The keyboard shortcut is Control Z. Now, font. Okay, Calibri. So this is fonts that there are different fonts. You can also download fonts if you want. Then 11, as you know, these are all font sizes. This is common in Word and PowerPoint. What is this one? So I selected this data and look what I'm going to do with this. Increase the font size. I don't have to go type here 14 or 20. I can just do that. And when I feel it's right, I can stop. I can go down. If I want to reduce the font size, you can press up if I want to increase the font size. Next, bold, italics. This is a double underline. So you can do one underline or double underline. Next is borders. All these different kinds of borders. We are not going to be looking at each one. I'm just going to be showing you 2 or 3 of them. The first one is all borders. So let's promote the data here first. Sorry, let's remove the colors here. And let's remove the borders also here. If I want to put borders for this entire data, I would have to select the entire table, which is Control A, and then I would go to border and I would do all borders. The entire table has borders. But that's a very slow method. As I said at the beginning, we are all for shortcuts and we're all for speed. Now look at the speed that I'm going to do in this. Yes, I'm going to show off a little bit, and then I'll tell you how I'm doing it. I will do that, I will do that. So you can see it's pretty fast. I'll do it again. Control A, Alt HB. I'll tell you what I did right now. Please understand it carefully. If you have any doubts, please unmute and ask me right now. So in Excel, when you press Alt, something interesting happens. You can see there are random letters that are shown all around here. This is not an error in your system. You would have seen this. So the first time I noticed, I thought it was an error with my Excel, but it's actually shortcuts. I'll tell you how that works. You press Alt. Okay, now where is border? In the Home tab. When I click this icon, all borders is here. All borders is what we want because all borders does this. That's what we want. But the shortcut for that, let me show you. I do Control A. Fine. I press Alt. So where is my desired icon? It's here. In which tab? Home tab. So it's H. H is the shortcut for Home tab. Fine. So I pressed Alt. Now I'm pressing H. Now, where is my icon that I want? It's in borders. It's in B. So B is the icon for borders. Fine. Click B. Now I want all borders. All borders is showing A. I press A and all borders have come. Now let's remove these borders with the same shortcuts. I'm doing Control A. I press Alt. I'm pressing H because my desired icon is in the Home tab. I press H. And now I want to go to borders. So I press B. And now I want no borders. So I click N. Now when you're working with big data, the speed at which this goes is this. So you want to Control A, Alt H B A. You want to remove, you'll go Alt H B N. So within half of a second, you have removed and added borders. Let me show you some other borders also. Let's say I want to make the text only have a thick box border and the remaining stuff I just want a normal border. So I would do Control A. I would go to borders here. I would do all borders, fine. All this is fine. Now I want all the headings to have a thick border. So I would select this. I would go to borders and I would go to thick outside borders. Kevin, a message came for me saying my screen sharing is paused. You can see it, right?
I can see it. It's fine.
Okay. Okay. Don't stop my screen sharing. Okay. Right. So that is how you put thick box borders for this, and you can put normal borders for this. Now let's say you're working in some creative sector and you want some interesting design for the borders. So you would select this data when you go to borders. So all these simple borders, we're not going to spend any time in looking at those. I just showed you all borders, no border, thick box border. When you go to more borders, as we said, let's say you want to put some interesting design for the border. So let's say you want to put this design. Sorry, this design. This is a text. You want it on the outline, means around the box, and you want in between also. So you can see it's 3 cells. So between these lines, you want the border there also. So you would put here. So when you do OK, you can see that's how the data comes. Let me show you part by part what that does. So now we have put borders for all the text. That is all borders. Fine, done. But we have changed the design a little bit because we like this design. But we have also put the design outside the text. We have also put between each cell. You can see this is there. What's the difference? If you go to borders, if you go to more borders, if I remove this one, so by clicking you can remove, by the way. If I remove, now that is there, but if I remove that, you can see if I press OK, there is no borders between it in the cells. Only on the outside there's a border shown. So that is up to you. If you want outside, if you want inside also, it's up to you. But I was just showing you that you can change the different styles of borders. Now I'm going to remove these borders. So the shortcut is I would do Control Shift right arrow because I want to select all the data from here to here. I would do Alt H B N. I would show it once again. Alt, and I want to select the Home tab. I press H. I want to select borders. So I press D, and I want no borders. So I press N. So you can see all borders are gone. Now, by the way, that Alt H thing, Alt works for anything. You press Alt, you're getting access to all the tabs. So make sure you work around with that data. And let's say I want to merge the data, I would just do Alt H merges M, and then I can work with the data. Work with the options there. Now, this is filling. So you want to fill a cell in a certain color, you would choose that. This is the font. You want to make some text in a certain color, you would use that. These three are pretty common things that you would have seen in Word and in PowerPoint also. So this is the data that I want to work with. So I can make it left align, I can make center align, I can make it right align. Left, center, right. What do these things do? Let me just make the rows a little bit bigger. Okay. Now you can see these in these cells, the text is towards the bottom right. Let's say I want it in the center, but I want it on the right. So I can make that center and right. What these three does, it aligns vertically. Top align, middle align, or bottom align. If I put it in the center, you can see this top, middle, bottom. This is right, center, sorry, left, center, and right. This is top, center, and bottom. So if I want to put in the center vertically and horizontally, I would click that and I would click. So right now you can see it's in the center both vertically and horizontally. Next is okay, this filter thing. Let's say I want to tilt this text. I don't want it like that. I want it in an angle. I would do that and I would just press option, yeah, angle like that. Or you would have seen certain tables where you put that and you want to angle it that way. Sorry, angle it that way. Let's say you want to tilt it the other way. You would just do it that way. You want vertical text, it goes like that. You want to rotate the text up, it goes like that. So this is good, when you're working with data that have very long headers, but you want to reduce the column size. So you can just do that. If you want to, let's say, print a report or a table in Excel and you have a lot of columns, this is okay. You can just tilt the heading in this way, and then you will fit a lot of columns in a single table. How to put this back to how it was. Okay, good. That is how you can work with that. Now, let us say this is the data that we have. I want to have a common header for all of these. So we looked at this, okay, what this does is increase intent, decrease intent, as in if there is a heading, if I want a certain space between this before employee name, I would just do that. It just makes it look better. Or if I want to reduce the space, I can just do that. It decreases or increases the space between this and the cell beginning. Wrap text. What wrap text does is this. Let us say I don't want this heading to be this big. I want it to come in 2 lines. So if I do that, you can see it's coming in 1 line. But I want the column size to only be this much. I don't want it to be bigger than this, and I want the text to fit in this. I would do wrap text. So when you do wrap text, what happens is any data in the cell gets cut in as many number of lines as is required to fit inside the cell. So if wrap text is off, it looks like that. If wrap text is on, it looks like give me a second, let me just do something. That is what wrap text does. So now as you can see, this does not look good when it's aligned at the bottom. So I would be aligning it to the center here. You can either make it top, but I would do it center because it looks better. Now what is merge? So you can see there is merge in center, merge across, merge cell. So I'll mainly help you understand what merge in center is and unmerged cells. That's the main thing that you use. These are 3 individual headings for the data here. Fine. But I want to have a common heading for all, which is employee data. But this one is coming here, right? I want to make it a center header for all. So I would do this. By the way, as I said at the beginning, I'm using shift right arrow. Of course, I can do that, but I just feel it's faster if I'm there and I do shift right arrow. Now I want to merge all of these. So I would go here, click merge and center. So the 3 cells have merged. Not only that, the text is in the center. Control Z for undoing. You can see separate cells. I do that. I do shift right arrow. If I go there and I do merge cells, then it's only merged. It's not center. You would have to manually go and do center. Sorry, you would manually have to go and do center after that. So if I undo that and I want to just have it all merged together, I would do merge and center. Let's say I want to unmerge the cells now. You can go there and click unmerge cell. Now, as you would have remembered at the beginning, okay, now it's merged and centered. As you would have remembered at the beginning, I told you that when you do control space, it selects the entire column. But you have to just have a warning in your mind. When you do control space with a merge cell, what happens is this. The entire cells, entire column, all the columns in which the merge cells data are there, merge cells are there, all those gets highlighted. So employee data is merged to all these 3. So when I do control space anywhere, all this gets highlighted. So like we saw in the beginning, by default, control space should only highlight 1 column. Or let's say you're selecting 2, 3 columns, then it should highlight all that. But in this case, what happens is when you do control space, the entire data here gets highlighted. So in case you want to just highlight only salary, you can manually go into it here. Let's say you want to unmerge the data. So you would go there and you would do unmerge cell. Okay, the time is 11:30. Fine. So this is where we're going to stop right now. We'll look at all of these in the next class, which will hopefully be next Saturday. We are stopping the session for now. If you have any questions, you can ask. Also, I will be having a feedback form that I require your feedback in, because I need to just work on anything if that is required, and I need your feedback on how the class was. So my IT supporter, Kevin, will be putting the Google Forms link in the chat. Please open that and fill the feedback form. But anyways, if there is any question that anyone has in this, please clear it now.
Hello, yes, Silas.
Hi, Salman. Yeah.
Yeah, in order to do this merge and center, we have any shortcut like alt you told before?
Yeah, we have. I'll show you that. So if I want to select, if I want to, let's say, merge and center here, what the shortcut what I would use is this. Shift tab, then I would do Alt, and our merge and center is in the home tab. So I would press H, and then you can see merge is M. Here you can see M. So I will click M. Merge and center is C. So I would press C.
Okay, okay, fine.
Now when
Okay,
you
so we have okay, okay.
let me tell you. Salman, you're saying?
Hmm?
You're
Yeah,
saying?
so we can do and for this unmerge also what we have to do now for shortcut of unmerge?
So unmerge will be, let's say all these are merged. I'm going to merge with Alt H M C. It looks like this. Alt H M C. If I want to unmerge, it will be like this. Alt and H is the ribbon where we have our Z function. So I'll press H. When I go to merge, it is M. Unmerge is U. You can see unmerge the U here, right? So when I press U, you can see the data is unmerged.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, now when you do it quickly, it looks like this. Alt H M U. That's the speed at which you can function. So if anyone has any more questions, please clear it now, because all the shortcuts that you saw right now, I'll be using it very, very heavily in the later sessions. And if you have a doubt at those times, it will be really difficult. So if you have any doubts, please feel free to clear it now. Also, please take time to fill the feedback form that is shared by Kevin in the chats. Kevin, all okay, right? Anything else?
No, all good.
Okay. So I'm stopping the screen share for now. Glad that all of you joined. We will be having the next session on Saturday, the coming Saturday at the same time, 10:30. 10:30 UAE time. So if anyone is joining from the other countries, please make sure you join accordingly. Trying to start the class on time itself, so please make sure you join 5 minutes early. Stop the recording here. Thank you, everyone.